almost damn near killed you. Witness is how you remind me. All right, this is an audio test. Turning the volume up a little. Okay, I think we are good. Let's check on the YouTube. All right, this is an audio test. Check on the YouTube. Hey, YouTube. Audio test. I think we're good. All right, I also want to check the vertical stream to see how hard it is to see. All right, so I'm going to launch my application. How hard is that to see? I also want to check the vertical stream, see how hard it is to see. So I'm going to launch my application. Let's see, just let me check. Okay, you can kind of see the game. That's all I needed. So if I do this. All right, I think we're good. I do believe we are good. I need to find music to play on the YouTube stream. I don't know what to do there. All right, so for today's stream, I am trying to knock out a bunch more tickets. We'll see how that goes. Hopefully I do more than one. I'm not sure how long each of these tickets are going to take. But I think I can just jump right in at this point. So I want to make a firing system consume weapon capability data. So on the last stream, I implemented that capability data. So now I'm going to assign this to myself. Put it in progress. And then I want to create a branch. Create a branch. Open branch with GitHub desktop. I wish this did what GitLab did and actually create a merge request with it. Or if there's a way to do it, I don't know how to do it. All right, so we want ticket number or branch number 79 assigned to agent. The problem with this is I don't think this ticket is written well enough for me to feel safe that a AI agent can implement this the way I want it to. Let's see here. So 79. All right. I am just going to get some work done, I think. Do-do-do-do-do-do. Do-do-do-do-do-do. I want 79. All right, so this, I think, is assuming there's already a weapon system in place. And I don't think I actually have a ticket to implement a weapon system. Yeah. Which kind of makes sense, because a missile is just going to be an entity in motion. But make a firing system consume the weapon capability data. So route missile and ion cannon behavior through shared weapon capability data to remove magic numbers from controller and scene scripts. Do I have magic numbers? What do I have? Player weapon fire calls Briarthorn.weapon fire, which that's probably not going to work long term. Yeah, there's nothing hard coded here. OAI. Remove magic numbers from the controller and scene script. Literally, the only magic number is the speed of the cursor. So basically, I think what I need to do here is implement maybe at least the... What does a weapon system even do? So a player is going to launch a weapon, which will spawn an entity to be flown. So I think that's part of what needs to happen is when a weapon is fired, so given a target, a shooter and a target, we create a new entity that represents that weapon and initialize it with the state of static data, which is what this is. So this ticket is clearly missing a lot of definition and or other tickets that needed to be done first. But that's the risk you take when you try and use an LLM to generate your stories for you, your issues for you. So what I am thinking then is we need to have a command that creates an entity. So we have a base command, maybe just straight up command missile, command launch missile. What do we do? Because we could have a command spawn entity generically, and an entity has a bunch of data on it that we can define, such as what side it's on, its type, its stats. Ooh. Its kinematics, which would be like its position and such. Sensor. A missile could have a sensor. Its steering parameter. So a system, a guidance system, could be used to steer the missile. Now, a missile having a track list, that's a little much. So we might have to create a explicit missile type. I don't know how, like, part of the problem that I'm running into is Godot has its, like, node-based way of managing entities, data, that kind of thing. And then I have what's in my head, which is more a composable, data-oriented approach. And I think that is fighting against how Godot wants things done. But I still want to keep, like, a separation of concerns, right? I want data, the data model, I want all that separate from what is being visualized. So I wonder if maybe these become optional. They aren't automatically instantiated. Well, the track list, weapon list, maneuver list. Oh man, I almost think this has to be resolved first before I can implement a missile. So we have generic entities, which really should just be an ID. The only way that works is if we start keeping like kinematics in its own array list. So I really don't want to implement an entity component system in Godot. I really just kind of want to use what Godot gives you. So I can create a where's our systems at? Systems, system motion. Motion needs kinematics, stats. You need an engine, steering, and we currently have the stats map. This will eventually change. This is probably going to go into the type database information. So we loop over every data entity in Briarthorn, model entities, and grab its components in order to move it. Gosh. I don't like this. I might have to solve that later. I'm just gonna use it for a missile as well. So we spawn an entity with initial parameters that define it as a missile. Um, hmm. Hmm. Decisions. We would have a command. It's almost like maybe the commands do the composition. So what do we have here? Command cursor. All right, let's just create a command. Command what? Fire weapon? So right now weapon fire does what? It creates a for every track. Oh, it finds the first bad track as a target. And then it gets the weapons from the weapon list on the player to do dispatch to weapon. Okay, yeah. So I think part of track list, we're probably going to need like active target or something like that. Because we will want to keep track of who we're actively like looking at, who the player entity is actively looking at, selecting whether that's via the cursor or something else. And then we will create that weapon fire command from this information. So the weapon fire command then is going to take a data track as a target and an entity as a shooter, I think. Data entity as a shooter. Okay. So class name, command fire weapon. So I need shooter. Do we use an ID or do we use a reference? I don't know if I've really established that yet. I do have an ID here. But we don't do anything with it, do we? We don't do anything with any of this. What? Oh, self. We pass in our command into the model. Okay. Yeah, so here what we're saying is we get the entity based on the ID. So executing this command will generate an entity with initial parameters, so speed, stuff like that. Probably initialize it with a maneuver. How do we do that? For every entity that has a maneuver in its maneuver list, we get its active maneuver. So it'd just be a missile with an active maneuver at that point. Oh man. Freaking Godot, man. Making this difficult for me. Hmm. My game is going crazy over there. Look at them. They're like spinning in a circle. How about that for a pursuit logic? They fly past and then they turn back around to fly at him again. My cursor's working too. I like it. Oh, Pixel Watch 3 is on sale, if you care about that. So we launch a weapon, creating an entity with initial parameters. Is ID an integer? ID is an integer equals 0. Our target this is interesting because I have a concept of the model entities which contains the source of truth, and then the concept of a track which might not be true. And so if you're firing a weapon, you're firing on your track, which might not be in the exact same position as the entity. So all of our logic has to act on the track. So we almost need Is there model tracks, Briarthorn? So I have model entities. I think I put model tracks as a member variable of entity, and maybe that shouldn't be true. Because I'm calling it a track list. Go to definition. Does that work? Data track list. I don't know if that's true. This almost needs to be a track list of every entity in the game that has a track list. That way you don't need an entity to access the track list. You just need its ID. That would be more entity component system based. Oh my gosh. One problem leads to another. It leads to another before I can actually implement what I want to implement. Sometimes that is programming in a nutshell. Okay, so I'm going to comment this out for now. Now I'm thinking step one is to decouple this track, weapon, and maneuver list and turn them back into data models that I can access from anywhere. Because then I could technically create a weapon. I mean, I have a weapon list, but this really is supposed to be like your inventory almost. I'm thinking I can create like a launched weapon list or something like that. So a data model of all the weapons in flight and be able to perform logic on those systems. That way I'm not looping over every entity in the game. I'm only looping over the weapons that need logic calculated for them. So what I need then is a model called model tracks.gd. And how are we implementing models just as a resource? Whoops, what did I do? All right, so model tracks is going to have to be a list of data tracks for a given ID, for a given instance ID. Is that how we've been doing this? Model get instance ID. So it's a dictionary of data entity, whereas I'm going to need a dictionary of an array of tracks. I've got fur or something floating in the air. Is my cat nearby? No? Weird. So it's almost like, here, I'll just copy and paste this. This almost needs to be like array of data tracks, data track. Does it like that? I don't even know if that's allowed. Hopefully it is. So this creates a track. That's not how we want to do it, is it? I almost want to be able, it's almost like create track entity data entity. Because I almost wonder if we can Because we can instantiate a track with parameters from the entity, I think. No, that's not right. Because we have we're basically going to have like a radar system, a sensor detection system that will iterate over. All right, so for every entity, this is an n squared problem. I'm gonna have to clean this up at some point. I mean, if we're only ever dealing with a handful of entities at any given time, the n squared isn't gonna be that bad. But if I ever want to do like 100 v 100, that's gonna be a problem. But this is saying, hey, for every entity in this game, if it has a sensor, or if it has all these components, perform detection logic, and then see if it can detect every entity in the game. So that's n squared. And if we manage to detect it, we will, what do? We create a track and we add it to the track list. This will have to change. This will have to become Briarthorn dot model tracks dot add get tracks observer dot, there we go, dot append track. It's gonna have to be something like this. But we aren't modifying our models this way. We modify our models via commands. So this then becomes something like Briarthorn dot command add track, like that. So command add track has a target ID. And I'm wondering if this piece here, if the observer does not have a track list, if the observer does not have this track, I've got an internal struggle on trying to like fight with how Godot does things and how I want to do things. So we have our target. If we're going to add a new track, we need to do so via a command. So command add track if something gets detected. So I think it makes sense. I think this is clean and easy. So except it becomes something like var command add track observer ID target ID. And then this logic can get moved into the model instantiation. And then we pass in the command right here. All right, because we don't modify our models directly. And there is a reason for that. And one day, if someone comes in and asks me, I will explain it. Let's see here. So this is going to have to go away. This is the new way of doing it. Observer get instance ID, target get instance ID. Yep. Okay. So that means I now need a command add track. Is that how I want to reference my observers? ID, observer ID target. Is that how I want to do this? Versus like ID. I guess observer is generic enough. ID observer, ID target. Command add track. Except I'm not going to do this. What I actually need to do is Briarthorn model cursors. Ooh, but I don't have... Oh my god, chicken and egg problem. Okay, so I'm back to model tracks. So create track now needs to become... I guess it wouldn't hurt to have the observer ID on the data track. I don't know if it's needed, but it probably wouldn't hurt. Oh, we do have um um target category side. I think that's all I need. Target category side. I'm trying to figure out what I actually want to pass in here. If I pass in a target ID, that means I'm dependent on another data model, and I don't like that. Target category side. I could also just be dependent on an entity. I might be okay with that. Let's see. ID observer, target. What did I say? Category side. That way I'm not dependent on another data model. So this will create the track, assign it to... Ooh, now it needs to be the observer ID, not the track ID. And then this gets a... Can I just do like dot append? If not, data has observer. Do I really have to do that? Do I have to like instantiate an array before I can append to it? Is that what that is? What the hell's it doing? If it has ID observer, erase the track. Okay. Now I can't get track. I need to get tracks ID int. Whatever. And it'll return either the contents for the observer ID or an empty array. So I'm okay with that. So get track won't work anymore. Oh, man. Does anyone else as a developer ever like are constantly second guessing their design decisions? I've been doing this for like 15 years and I'm already feeling what do you call it? Imposter syndrome. It's like, man, I've been doing this for so long. Now I feel like I don't know what I'm doing. I think I've forgotten more than I've learned. Okay, so we'll create a track, add it to our data model. If we want to access our list of tracks, we call get tracks with our entity ID. The thing I'm worried about here is I also want to get access to like the current track that is focused, right? When that cursor, if you see the cursor right here, I don't know if I don't know how this works vertically. Where's my mouse? You can't see my mouse. You can't see my mouse. All right. Well, pretend my mouse is pointing at the track that is being latched on by the cursor as it comes up right there. You have one track selected at a time that you can look at or shoot at, kind of thing. And so we need that data to exist somewhere. Maybe that exists. Because that's a command, right? So when that cursor latches, you invoke a command to say, hey, this entity is selected or this track is selected. Now it's a track being selected. That exists on the data model. So I think that's just a single track ID. Am I crazy? So wouldn't that be just like var what do we call it? Latched track. I'm going to make it singular. Now, do I keep a reference or do I just keep an ID? Maybe I use an ID. Right? Don't know why that's an error. Something I'm not convinced this is allowed. We'll have to figure that out. Maybe I'm allowed to do this. Ooh, but now it doesn't like. Oh. Well, how do I fix that? Okay. Hmm. I'm wondering if it's not gonna like this. Man, this is so worrisome. Um. Latch track, targeted track, selected track, select current track. Latching onto a track makes it current. So if you want to get the current track, you can do that. So function get current track. So we get the tracks, get current track of the observer. So, okay. So I think I do want to keep. I feel like this could be an index into this array. But in order to do this, this would have to be like a dictionary. So I would need to do like dictionary. Yeah, like this. Which means this changes to. Doesn't like. Unnecessary else. Oh, that's fair. Because you can just do this. So we would get our list of tracks. Do I really need this dot size? Is there not like a dot empty? If not empty. So current track, we get if it exists or 0. Ew, I don't know if I like that. I want to say if it doesn't exist, then that also returns null. So this, I need to invert this. We need to do if current track has, if not has. Remember, not has. We return null. Do we do get tracks first? Because if it doesn't have any tracks, if not, or no, if empty, right? Oh my god. If tracks empty, return null. If there is no current track, return null. Then all we have to return what is this modular operator for? What are they doing here? AI is dumb sometimes. So current track has ID. If not, return null. Otherwise, so let's do this. Var current index. No, I can't do that. Yeah, I don't know what my autocomplete is doing there. All right. So if the current track, or return the current track in my track list. Okay. And we'll probably have to add some functions here to set the current track, that kind of thing eventually. All right, so we create the track. Category, let's see, observer, target, category, side. All that looks good. We append it to our array. I don't know if we do anything about creating duplicate tracks. Probably should, shouldn't I? What do we do? I want to check for... What's the best way to do this? Because I'm going to basically have to iterate over the array, aren't I? If I don't care about the order of the array, I could make it a dictionary as well. I think we'll eventually care about the order, but that's going to be for like turn order if we do turn-based combat. And realistically, that could be its own data model as well. But for a general track model, which we're using to render tracks, man, maybe the concept of current track doesn't belong on here after all. If this model is solely designed to provide state for this view to render these tracks, yeah, I'm doing too much. I'm going to get rid of current track for now. I always do this. I always do too much. One step at a time, Aaron. All right. So for now, let's check that this track already exists. Since the array isn't sorted or anything, this is going to be a lot. This is going to be an O of n operation. So the first thing we want to get is our list, right? So var list equals this. If I think we keep going whether the list is empty or not, right? Because we're creating a track. So that's not the issue. I'm going to check if list dot has. Ooh, how do I do that? Do I have to literally iterate over? Okay, so I do. So for track data track, if the, yeah, so return. Okay. I could create a get track function. That makes sense. So we have get tracks. Okay. So list for track in list, otherwise return null. If we find it in our list, okay, there we go. Okay, so now what I do is I say, hey, var track equals get track. If track, return it. Otherwise, can I do this? Does Godot let you do this? Help me leave behind some to be missed. All right, so if the track already exists, we're just going to return without updating, I think. Oh, man, see, this would be good for different like error cases. I feel like this is a bug waiting to happen. A track's going to get created, and then we're going to create a new track, but with different information. I hate it. Data track, we instantiate, update. The time comes. Instantiate an array, I guess, or allocate an array if it doesn't already exist. Append our track to the list. Our ability to erase, which we may or may not need. And then we can get a track. We can get tracks. Okay. Let's document. Can I document? Intending someone else will come and save me from myself. Be who you are. I can't be who you are. Ooh, I didn't like that. Too long. Ooh, still doesn't like it. All right. Let's do that one more time. Ooh. All right, so now we have the ability to create a track. Now let's go back to command add track. So command add track has an observer ID and a target ID. So we get our observer, which I don't think we actually need. We're not creating a track here. I think we just need our target entity. So now this becomes this, I think this is going against how I was doing the cursor. So the cursor has a command function I can pass in, which probably isn't correct either. I don't think our data model should be dependent on commands. So that's a mistake. Mistake for another day to fix. I think the command just invokes model APIs. Looking so dissatisfied. All right, so we get our target. So here I need to add Briarthorn. We need to instantiate model tracks. Add it to Briarthorn so that our command add track. So we have a target. So now we do Briarthorn, which was passed in. So Briarthorn dot model tracks dot create track on a Valentine Day. So now we have observer ID, target category, target side. I think that's how that works. Am I handling the fact that this could be null? If target is null, we just return. That makes sense. Okay, so now we have command add track. All of this so I could fire a weapon. I haven't even, I wanted to start today getting a weapon created, but I can't even do that because I don't have all this command stuff sorted out yet. Let's see, model, create track. Where was this? This was in a system, right? System sensor detection. So now I don't create a track here. I just invoke a command. And if I didn't break anything, this will work first try. I'm gonna open up the editor, I think, just to make sure. I also need it to generate GUI IDs. We have errors, all kinds of errors. Data list tracks parse error. Oh, I got to get rid of data list track. All right, this is where AI will come in handy. Now that I have actually defined how I want to use my code, I can use AI to help me refactor and replace. So, what I can do here is say, hey, let's use Sonnet. I just implemented model tracks. I want to use this in place of the data track list. This means I need the track list removed from data entity, and I need anything that depended on it to be replaced with the model tracks found in Briarthorn.gd. So I can say go, and then I'm going to run use the bathroom and heat up some food. So I will be right back. And when I come back, it'll work first try. Problem. I am back, ladies and gentlemen. How are we doing? Did it complete my game? Oh, whoops. Hmm. What do we got? So I don't like this. I don't like this. So we can probably implement a has track function. Hmm. Hmm. It's fine for now. Whatever. All right. Let's see how Godot's looking here. Can I? Is there a way to refresh or reload your project without? Is that it? No. I don't know how to. Hmm. Oh, I don't know. I'll just close it and reopen. Okay. No output errors. First try. See if we get any tracks. That looks like a track to me. Can I still latch? I can still latch. Cool. Awesome. All right. I think this is a committable change. Instantiate a new model tracks. Oh, that's not right. This is why we review our LLM changes, because I wanted trackless gone. So now I'm wondering. Oh wait, no, we're good. This is just a bad name. This is our rendered track list. This will have to change at some point. No, that's fine. I wanted to see the data track list get removed, I think. And it did not. Yeah, this is did the model track list at least get the signals added? It did. Okay, so that's good. Track added, track removed. All right, I want to make sure that's still good. In your shoes. I think we're good. Still launch, still turn. Still find a track, so that's good. Cool. All right. Let's run our format and lint. No problems found. I don't think this if check is necessary. What is this? System track motion? If this is not empty, run update tracks. But in here, if it's empty, this for loop does nothing. So I don't think this is needed. Love this beautiful n squared. How many n squares can you n square? So far down. Away from the sun again. All right, I did all of that so that I could begin handling launching a weapon, I think. So now, when I fire a weapon, I need to have a track selected. Well, as a player, when I fire a weapon, I need to have a track selected. As an enemy who might want to use the same API, I'll have to have a system or something, or like a behavior tree that determines how to fire on the player. Hmm. So that's why I needed the current track. And the current track gets set by the cursor latching onto a track, maybe? Or does a cursor latch onto the current track? Because you can probably have a track selected without the cursor actively being on it, especially during like a turn-based combat. Unless we say for our game, the cursor is always on the selected enemy during combat, which we could totally do that. Hmm. Hmm. I'm trying to think. You can have selected entity be null, and therefore the cursor isn't selecting it. If the selected entity isn't null, then the cursor is latched to it. Selected entity becomes null if you move the cursor off of it. But if you hit right or left bumper, even if the cursor isn't selecting an entity, it will jump to the entity. So the way that works is something has to tell the cursor to move to that location. Or something says, hey, cursor, you need to move along whoever the current selected entity is. So part of this is, I think is it in the cursor motion? Somewhere where you're doing the latching. Might be here. So we grab the cursor. Has a target ID. Okay. Axis values is its input values to move, I think. If its length is greater than the latch dead zone of 0.2, the ID is 0. So if it starts to move, we are no longer latched. Otherwise, grab the player entity, data track, get track, cursor target ID. So we already have, so right now we store the target on the cursor itself. I don't know what to do. I mean, it makes sense. A cursor model should be in charge of positioning the cursor. Moving sometimes feels like I'm towing the line to ask for me why I feel this way. Yeah. So this is helpless now, but I know. So I almost think I need a command that will iterate through so when I hit left and right bumper, I need to have the cursor jump to the nearest track. I think I was real in life, but I know. Cursor jumps to the nearest track, so that looks something like you feel helpless now. So if I hit left or right bumper, it just goes boom. The only way that works is I have a command that tells the cursor this is the new target. The only way that works is if that command does logic on the position of the cursor and the list of tracks to find who it's nearest to. Only then will it jump. Now I can make it dumber and just have it always start at the beginning of the track list. I could start with that, if I'm honest. That'll be easier. So we just always say, hey, jump to the player's first track. And does this logic, does that work? So if the cursor doesn't have an ID, if it does have an ID, grab our player, grab the track. What the hell does this do? What is this doing? Return. Oh, it's just return the is this like a Python thing? Return the track if player is not null, otherwise return null. I don't even need that. This handles it under the hood, so I don't need this anymore. I'm exhausted, but he understands. But there's nowhere in my lungs. Ooh, it doesn't like that. That is making me numb. Does it not know how to... Because no one knows. Does it not know how to format this, or am I just doing it wrong? Oh my god. What is going on here? It just straight up didn't know how to format it because it was wrong. Okay. All right. So what do we do with player? Are we even using player? Yeah, we are. 2 radar space. So why are we... We can just do this. I don't need this. Okay. So if the track exists, the cursor's position becomes relative from the player to the track, which makes sense. Underneath all the weight of the world. Okay. So I think the only thing I need to do then is if I want to implement a left and right bumper solution, I can create like a command cursor latch and assign it an ID. It's not going to be good enough. Because I need to keep track of my place in that list of entities, right? Where's my window? Because I could have like 10 windows or 10 tracks over here. And if I latch to, let's say this is a list. Can I can't really pause this. I latch in the middle. Well, if I hit right bumper, I expect to go this way. If I hit left bumper, I expect to go this way. Or I expect to go in the order that the tracks were added in. At a bare minimum. If it was smarter, maybe it goes to the nearest track every time. Boom, 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 boom. Yes, that's. I think that's just a command. The command reads the track list. So you pass in the observer ID, the player ID. Boom, 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 boom. But who owns the current traversal order? That's the model track list. That's right. So you go to a track, and then like right bumper is find your position in that array, and then go to the next one. left bumper is find your position in an array and go to the previous one. More efficiently, I keep track of my index, right? But your track list could dynamically change. But that's fine. Maybe initially you find whichever track you're going to latch to, figure out its index, and then its nearest index. Right and left bumper is nearest index. So if for some reason your index gets invalidated, let's say you have 4 items, you lose one, so you have index 3, but it only goes to index 2, well, the nearest index then is 0. Okay. I think I like that. At least it's a good starting point. So that means I need a command cursor. So this command cursor is kind of for position. I need command cursor latch. The ID is going to be the observer ID, right? So we're gonna, since I've been using this naming convention, we're gonna keep with it. So we have the observer ID, and we want to. Oh my God, is it actually gonna? What is it doing? If this actually does what I want it to, that means it's listening to me talk, which is terrifying. It grabs the observing entity. It grabs the track list. It grabs the first track. Okay. I mean, that's okay for now. No, we're not commanding the cursor. That's insane. Okay, so I need to update model cursor to support setting the target ID. I probably need to move this out of here. Remove cursor, get cursors, get position, signal position changed. Function. I remember why I remember why I'm doing it this way. Because I don't want Godot doesn't have const functions and const references. So everything is modifiable by everyone, and I'm trying so hard to make that not possible. So I'm basically going against what Godot tries to do. So I created this command function as an API that no one should be using it other than commands to modify the internal logic, the internal state. Okay. So I don't know if that's how I want to keep doing things, but for the sake of consistency for at least this class. So we'll have a does Godot let you have 2 functions of the same name but different parameters? I bet it doesn't. What do you think? To believe. Catch me when I'm gone. Me when I'm gone. So we need the cursor ID, the observer ID. I'm going down in flames. Again, yeah. Again. So command cursor latch will have... See, I don't want it to have a dependency on data models. Oh, man, this is such a pain in the butt. Pain in the butt. I just want to give it... the entity ID. So we have the cursor ID, our observer ID, and I need to give it... So this really is like command latch. And when we execute, we get our track list, which is this guy right here, track list. We find our first track. So I almost need to check if the model cursor has an ID active right now. I'm going down in flames. I'm running into this again. Yeah. I can just modify the cursor directly. Is that what I was doing with the add track? Yeah. I think I'm okay with that. So then model cursor doesn't need this function at all. All right, so we get our cursor. We get our... I need my observer. I don't need my observing entity. I just need the ID to get my track list. I find the first track. I find the source of truth, which I don't need because I have the track. The only thing I'm trying to do here is cursor dot target ID is track dot target. All right. It's not going to work. Is that going to work? So I'm already thinking of another issue. I think the cursor motion is based on... Oh, no, it's not. Okay, model tracks. Good. If it was using data entity, we were in trouble. It's using it here. That might be a problem. Nope, that's for the player entity. The player entity, we know where we are. It's just our target, our track, we don't necessarily know. We only know our track's position, or like our track's position is only as accurate as the ability of the radars on our aircraft. Okay, so that makes sense. So command cursor latch then. So I need left and right bumper, left and right bumper. Next previous, right? That's what I need, next previous, command cursor next previous. Okay, so I need an enum called, ooh, least recently updated track? Oh, I like this. Nearest track, next track, previous track. Next track, previous track, Next track. Previous track. I'm wondering... if I move... If I move the try-latch logic... and turn this into the command as well. Because this could be command... I don't know. I don't need... What would that look like from an API perspective? If cursor.target ID is 0, then hitting left or right will be nearest track. Otherwise, right is next track, left is previous track. Let's do that. All right, so we get our cursor, we get our track list, except this is no longer correct. Does Godot have switch statements? Oh wait, I need var latch type. Sure. Okay. Track is null, sure. Match. Okay. Ooh, look at this. I totally wrote this code myself. Let's see if it's even correct. Or if it makes sense. So match latch type. Hey, San, how's it going? I really appreciate you stopping by and saying hi. Yeah, that's one way to call it. It's kind of here. I'll expand it a little bit. There's not a lot going on yet. I'm actually in the middle of writing the bulk of the combat logic. But the idea is, you can kind of see some stuff going on. The idea is, I think we're gonna try and make this an RPG. I don't know if it's gonna be like real time or turn-based yet, but it's going to be combat focused, so top down. You're going to have different stats that affect how fast you're going to fly, how quickly you can turn, how smart your weapons are. Like if you shoot a missile, is it going to track your enemy, or is it going to be dumb and just like fire straight? Do you want to do long range combat where you get really far away and then shoot that smart missile, or do you want to zoom in and get really close and almost be like a bullet shooter where you're just sitting there constantly trying to shoot bullets to hit the enemies down, so on and so forth? Like Battleship? Honestly, it's not going to be like hit or miss in that manner. There will be stealth, so you're not going to necessarily know what's out there. So you're coming in at the very beginning of the game development, but one of the things I think we're going to try and do is, you kind of see these red symbols on the screen right now, right? Those are the tracks. Well, those are tracks that we know exist. But what do you do when your radar isn't good enough, right? What do you do when there's other things out in the world and you don't know if they are good guys or bad guys, or if they are, I don't know, resources or something like that? Do you shoot at it? Do you ignore it? Do you cross your fingers? Is it chasing you down? Is it leaving you alone? So we're still in the infancy of developing this. We're pushing for a demo right now. So that's where you're seeing me kind of work on figuring out missile firing logic and targeting. So I'm actively working on targeting right now to figure out how I want to get this cursor to follow a track so that I can shoot at it. But we're still kind of figuring out. I want to get this demo up and running where we fire some weapons at the enemies, have the enemies fire back, and then have a boss fight where the main guy, he will actively try and get behind you to essentially blast an ion cannon at you, like this giant laser beam, to melt you out of the sky. And the whole time you're trying to make sure that doesn't happen, he has a bunch of like little bad guys trying to shoot and fire at you and make it annoying for you. Uh, so that's going to be our initial demo, and then I think I'm going to have a couple of friends try it out and get some feedback on whether it'll be fun to play or not. Uh, Not altitude right now. We've thought about that. I almost thought about like in one of these displays on the right or left having like one of those HUDs where you can kind of see your pitch and your roll. I'm not 100% sure we're going to do that or not, only because of limited time and resources. I am trying, anyone making a game is trying to release a game. So I am trying to like get this out the door like by next February, because I think that's when Steam Next Fest is. This is my first game I'm actively trying to release. I've always made small attempts at like little games, but this is the first one I'm really like wanting to get done. And so I've thought about altitude elevation. I don't know. I just don't know yet. If we find a way to make it fun and roll it in, absolutely. Because I could see where you have like you see it'll still be 2D, but we could like have another window here where you see like the enemies fly by as you move up and down, that kind of thing. It could be, honestly. The enemies could be just about anything we make it. It's, the world is our oyster at this point. Anything goes. At least for the demo that I'm building, it's going to be a specialized fighter that's going to try and track you down and get behind you to blast you out of the sky as kind of a mechanic you have to try and avoid. And then this is like, you can kind of see it. This is the swarm of enemies that are trying to chase you down. And it's really dumb logic right now. They're just set to follow you. And I also thought about like maybe you'll find items kind of like an RPG, right? Where you can equip upgrades, drag and drop. This is a very, like, you're looking at 2 months of work versus we're not even in pre-alpha or early access. This is very, very rough to start with. We've got bugs where if I try to drag and drop and let go, they'll disappear on me. So yeah, we're still figuring out what the game is actually going to be, but we do know we want it to be some kind of top down. Your radar matters, your stealth capabilities matter, how fast you can fly might matter, how powerful your weapons are might matter. So we want to make it like really engaging and maybe introduce some kind of like puzzle system where you have to like figure out how to beat the enemy. It's not just going to be straightforward fire a bunch of weapons and they die. I'm hoping to have like boss mechanics that you have to figure out while you're playing. And then it's also trying to figure out if we want to do turn-based combat or real time. Because I don't know how easy it will be to navigate all of the systems while you're in the middle of combat, so you might have to slow it down. I really appreciate you coming by checking it out, though. Right now, I'm trying to implement a left and right bumper to move the cursor to target your enemy. No, that's on purpose. I don't know if I can show you. The problem is I'm on a 4K screen. Let me see if I can zoom in for you so you can actually see what's happening. I'm also learning Godot as I'm doing this. I'm usually I'm a professional C++ developer by trade, so I'm used to a little bit more lower level stuff. I'm not used to this application, so I'm still learning. There's probably a way to define the resolution of the window. 1920 by 12. Okay, let's try this. Let's run it. Let's set this to stretch. Okay. I don't know how easy it is you can see, but I have these red diamonds that are dark, kind of hard to see. Once I actually make this, like, get further into the development of this game, these red diamonds are going to go away. That's just for debugging purposes. It's the source of truth. This is where the aircraft, the enemy aircraft, exist for real. But you see my triangle here, my little cone. This is like your radar beam. And only when these red diamonds pass through this radar beam do you actually see an enemy aircraft. So this red triangle, it's kind of hard to see, but that's a little red triangle. That's a bad guy, red being bad. It also means that you found someone. Someone exists there that could fire at you, or you could fire at them. But until you reveal them with your radar, you don't know they're there. So once I remove these red diamonds, like, the world's going to seem empty until you realize, like, oh, my radar passed over something. What is that? I need to go find out what that is. Oh God, it's an enemy, run, right? Or it's like, oh God, it's a high level enemy, I'm in trouble. Or maybe it's a friendly, or maybe you found an upgrade or something like that. And what it would look like realistically, now, remember, I'm going to caveat all of this with what you're seeing. A lot of this is subject to change. We're just, like I said, we're about 2 months into development. I'm looking to push for a demo by the end of this month. But what I can do here is turn off the debugging. Is it this one? Okay. Right. So now I'm in an empty world. There's nothing there. Now, eventually we'll probably add obstacles, mountains, trees, maybe something like that. And then you're flying around and, oh, what is that? Oh, there's a bad guy there. Shoot it, right? Or, oh no, it's too powerful, I need to run. And so you're going to start flying away, and then eventually, now these enemies are further away, but eventually your radar will pick something else up, right? And my sensor skill is only 2 points out of 10. If I had a 10 sensor skill, maybe the radar range is further out, so you can find and detect enemies quicker. But you choose to find them quicker, but by doing so, you might have to have weaker weapons, right? Or weaker durability, things like that. So the goal is for you to customize your aircraft on how you want to play the game, and then use those skills to navigate these challenges and defeat enemies. Now, most likely, we're currently looking at making this more of like a roguelite, where you go on missions, you defeat these levels, you get quest rewards or upgrades, and you continue on to eventually fight like the final boss kind of thing. Not 100% sure what that's going to look like yet. Oh, now we're picking up new enemies. And I think oh, there's another enemy, right? And it's like, oh, what's actually out there? Oh, it's a whole like battalion it's a whole fleet of aircraft, right? Now it's time to go. And then you start to fly away, and maybe you find something else. So that's kind of where things are at right now. And I'm just working on getting the cursor latching to do its thing with a left and right bumper, so that you can select which track to target and fire a missile at it. All right, so previous track is... We get our track list. Our track is no. No, they're just. I mean, honestly, they're just pixels. But we're probably going to use meters and keep it simple. Use X and Y. I thought about making this more realistic using latitude, longitude, altitude, um, more like aerodynamic information, yaw, pitch, roll, angle of attack, um, air flaps, air brakes, that kind of thing. But I do want to try and make this game a little more approachable, because my concern is if I go too realistic, then there's going to be people who are looking for that realism, and I don't think I'm going to be able to put enough time and effort into making this truly realistic to meet the demands of like those who are really into aircraft. So I do kind of want to make this a little more easy to understand, if you will. So I don't know about latitude, longitude. If I did like real world positions, um, land masses, like planet Earth land masses, then I absolutely would do latitude, longitude. At least for now, we're just doing XY coordinate system, meters. Maybe some kind of like reference point for your base of operations or something like that. I'm not 100% sure yet. Yeah, it's just meters for now. Honestly, we might have to change it to like kilometers, because it gets kind of ridiculous seeing 33,280, 133,120, right? So we'll eventually have to like cap how much you can zoom in and out, and what the max range will be. Yeah, yeah. And then you have missiles that fly even faster, right? All right, so this is null. Track list, previous track. So this isn't right. We need to keep track of our index. Yeah, you're not wrong. I need to keep track of my current. So the cursor has target ID. So I need to find. Let's see. So it's almost like if. There it is. Look at that. Ooh, I don't want you to erase though. Current track, get track, observer, target ID. So I don't even think I need this. I think I can just do this. So this is the current track. So let's call this track. Previous track is, I need to find, oh, that's what I need. I need track index equals track. Oh, Godot has a dot find function. Oh, that makes life a little easier. Track index. So now this needs to change. If we go to previous, I need to do track index -1. I actually think Godot allows you to go negative, and it will automatically iterate in your, or loop over your array. So this becomes track index +1. Is indent relevant in Godot script? Yeah, it is. It's a little annoying being a C++ developer. I'm used to having like scope braces. Godot indentation matters. That's how it's kind of like, I think Python does this too. Indentation is how you determine the scope. Nearest track, best distance, infinite. So for every track in the track list, we want. No, we actually don't want this. Oh, crap. We don't want this. Why do I need kinematics? Kinematics has our position. Yeah, we don't want this because our track is going to be different than the actual position of the entity because there could be error introduced, or maybe the bad guy is scrambling your radar. So we can't depend on the source of truth here. We have to use our track list, so that's not going to work. A track shouldn't have kinematics. A track has a range and an azimuth from the observer. So we'll have to calculate. All right, so if the track is null for some reason, should it ever be null if it's in the track list? I don't think so. We're going to risk it. All right, so for every track, we need to find the position. We need to calculate an XY position. Oh. The cursor's in a different coordinate system. Oh, man. The cursor is in the screen space. The track is relative to the player's own ship. Oh, that's annoying. We have cursor position, distance to target position. That's not going to work. I need to use... What do I need here? I need to find the screen space position of the track to compare to the cursor position. Using azimuth and range from player. Track has a target ID. Yeah, that's not going to work. So I need the player's position, which is Briarthorn.player. All right, so var player position equals Briarthorn. That works. Track position is... Oh. Gotta love the auto completion. So this is saying player position, track position is player position plus track range times azimuth value. That makes sense. When you say cursor, you mean the crosshair icon on the... Yes, that is absolutely what I mean. Yeah, because so what I'm trying to actively work on now is you see the cursor is following this track. So like in a real fighter jet, that is who is my currently active target. So if I want to fire a weapon, I need to know who to fire on. So the cursor, who it's latched on, is who I'm going to fire at. But I want to be able to use a game controller to hit the left and right bumper to jump between all the different targets, so it's easier for the player to like figure out who they want to fire at and go like boop 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 boop, figure out who you're going to fire at, hit the launch button, and you'll fire a missile. So that's what I'm working on. I guess... Is there any... I mean, this doesn't have to be that realistic. Is there any reason I can't just store... Yeah, there is a reason, because I want the ability to dynamically change the error on a track. I think what I can do, though, is... So we have get track given an ID and a target. I can add a function to it. What is this called? Data track? I can do that. Let me do that. That'll make, because I'm almost certain we're going to need this in the future. So we won't store it, but we can at least calculate function get position. Relative to the observer's position. If the observer is null or its kinematics is null, return 0. Otherwise, at its position. All right, we'll do that. So now a track will have a get position function. That's better than nothing. So now all I need to do So now we do track.getPosition, and now we calculate the distance from the cursor's position to the track's position. Whoever has the smallest distance becomes the current track, and that's who the cursor latches to. And then the next track is just track index +1 or track index -1, and we only need to calculate that if we are here. All right, I think that'll do it. So now I need to add a left and right bumper. And you're going to witness this work first try. Trust the process. Just for your awareness, this never works first try. Okay, so I need to add what are we going to call this? Next track, previous track, I guess. All right. So next track is going to be right bumper. And previous track will be left bumper. All right. So now I need to tell Godot that those commands exist. So I do have a controller script that I put everything in. All right, so now I need to define those functions. Ooh, that's way too much. I don't need to do any of this because I created a command to do this for me. So this actually becomes var command, command cursor latch, cursor ID, player ID, next track, command. And previous track becomes previous track. Now the issue here is if... Do I have access to the cursor here? Model cursors. Okay, so if all right, I gotta, let's see, var cursor, model cursor, get cursor ID. If cursor dot target ID is 0, then we want the nearest track. Otherwise, we'll do the next track. GD script doesn't need to compile a solution like, yeah, yes. GD script, at least right now, it's all processed at runtime. There might, like, down the road, I thought I saw a GitHub ticket where they might, like, convert the Godot script into C++ so it can be compiled for performance reasons. But I think as of today, it's all just ran at runtime. All processed at runtime. I think. Like I said, I'm about 2 months into this, so I might know just a little bit more than you do with Godot. I might not. Okay, so all right, so now the way this should work is if the cursor is not latched to a target, it will find the nearest one. If it is latched to a target, it will go to the next one in the list or the previous one in the list. Oh my gosh, this never works first try. And now I've got someone watching. Oh man, don't panic. Don't panic, Funin. We can do this. We can do this. Am I forgetting anything else? I hit right bumper, next track goes to nearest track if target ID is 0. You know what? Screw it. We'll do it live. Let me make sure Godot is good with those changes. I haven't figured out how to like reload the state of my application inside Godot, so I'm always having to like close it and reopen it. I'm sure it's a quick Google away to figure it out. Is that it? All right, let's see what happens. Ooh, that was not first try. That was is not present on the inferred type model cursors. What did I... Oh, I think it's get cursors plural. It is get cursors plural. I don't have a get cursor function. I could add one. Let's see, model cursors, get cursors. Yeah, there we go. All right, that doesn't count. That was just missing a function that I thought I had. All right, we're trying again. Second try. Cannot find member empty. All right, this is my lack of Godot knowledge. Apparently, there's no dot empty function for an array. I gotta actually Google that. It's kind of dumb if it doesn't have one. Has clear, erase. Does it really not have empty? Really? Is empty. I'm not counting that either. All right, what else did I get wrong? Local variable player position is declared but never used. That's not good. Do I care about the player position? Oh, that was before I moved everything into this get position function. Okay. So I think I can clean that up. All right. Third try. Okay. Let's grab the controller. So right now, this shouldn't do anything because no tracks have been found. So if I hit a bumper, nothing is happening. So that's working as intended. So now let's find a track. Uh-oh. Wait, is that a missile? Is there a missile there? What the heck is that? Why is a missile showing? Where are my tracks at? Oh, they're out there. Okay. All right, I have one track. Moment of truth. Something happened. Something happened. Invalid call, non-existent function, get position, and base nil. Nil means the track is null. So I tried to call track.get position. Oh, I'm looping over. Wait, what? Remember when I said I shouldn't need to check for null because there's no way? I still think there's no way, so I probably do have a bug. It doesn't like this. If t is null, continue. All right, trying again. All right, pause for YouTube video and first try. Don't say anything. All right, here we go. Son of a biscuit. Wait, it's still null. Oh. Why didn't you tell me? Look. I'm looping through a list of tracks and it's called T. But I'm calling track. Track is apparently null in this case, which makes sense because the cursor doesn't have a target. So this should have been T. Ridiculous. I'm going to actually move this here so I know not to use it outside of this. Oh, no, I need it. Apparently, I need it. That's right. I do need it because of this line right here. This could still be an issue, right? If for some reason track is never found, if this returns null and a track is never found, or the list is empty, this will always be null. So I need to do if not track equals null. There we go. All right. All right. We're getting there. We're getting there. First try. Second first try. Fifth first try. All right. So hitting a button, nothing should happen, right? And then we find a track. All right, that was with the right bumper. Let's see if the left bumper works. Yes! Let's go! All right. That was the easy part. We need to get to this collection of tracks and see what happens when we start hitting left and right bumper a bunch. So we're going to zoom in so we can see us moving. So you can slow down and go fast. So that's left and right trigger. Left trigger slows down, right trigger speeds up. I don't know if that's how we'll do it down the road, but that's how we're doing it right now so we can move. And these grid lines will eventually go away too. Because I do want to put like stuff in the world so you can tell that you're moving. Because right now it's kind of like a sea of blue. So they are slowly flying towards us and we are slowly flying towards them. Because the other thing I need to test is if the cursor is closer to that group, will it jump to that group or will it jump to the original track? We got to make sure all that's working. Almost there. I've been waiting on one of my team members to give me the ability to update these stats so I could just update these stats and increase the range of my sensor. All right. Okay. Ready? No! It latched to the missile! What? Wait a minute. Wait. Oh no, it's not working. I mean, this is working. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Oh, ooh. Ooh. Ooh, I didn't like that. Out of bounds, get index 12. Why is it index 12? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I thought Godot allowed you to extend past the index. I might have been wrong. That's okay. We can do this correctly then. So what we really want to do is track index plus equal 1. I don't know if Godot lets you do plus equal. I assume it does. If track index equals, no, greater than equal, track list dot size? Then track index equals 0, right? We'll see if, I guess we'll see if that works. So it did not like that. Ooh, it doesn't like, it didn't like me having more than one either. Wait, did I not just make a change here? Oh, I didn't, whoops. I gotta use track index. There we go. Thanks, San. I really appreciate you stopping by. I do enjoy showing off what I'm working, and it was kind of cool for someone to see what it is. Really appreciate it. All right. That logic is clearly wrong. Is there multiple missiles there? Is that what's happening? Oh, there's like 4 or 5 missiles there. What? This is also not... It's doing it relative to my player's position, and I need to do it relative to the cursor's position. So that's not right either. So we're doing cursor position relative to track position. And track position... All right, I'm gonna... Yeah, because this isn't screen space. I need to convert this to screen space. I'm gonna ask AI how to do that. In command cursor latch.gd line 32 track position is in world space, but cursor position is in screen / HUD space. I need to compare the distance between cursor and tracks to latch to the nearest track. currently, this doesn't happen. The cursor is latching to the missiles near the player. All right, let's see what that can figure out. And while it's doing that, I'm going to go use the bathroom and grab a drink, and I will be right back. Let's see where we're at and where I went wrong. Oh, okay. So this makes me think I'm going to need a utility function because I think I do this elsewhere. So we grab the player. Oh, we get the current zoom level. That might matter. We get the heading value of the player because we need to know where he's pointed because that changes. Does that matter? Cosine, sine. Degrees to radians. The track. So we get radians. We calculate the world position. Its zoom position. We calculate the radar position. This only works if the cursor's position is relative to radar position. I don't know if that's true. I mean, we'll run it, see what happens, because I am curious if AI figured something out I didn't. But I don't have my hopes up. All right, where's my controller? Okay. Do 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 do. Okay, so if I do here, it should jump to the missiles. If I do here, it should jump to the player. Oh shit, maybe cursor position is relative to radar. Own ship. Because you can kind of see, well, it's currently latching. Hang on. Yeah, you can kind of see it gets to like -1, 1. It's hard to move it. 0. Okay. So I forgot about that. Some reason, because I'm using a Godot control node to render my cursor, I was thinking its position was relative to top left corner. But no, it's relative to own ship. So that's good, actually. So this appears to be working now. Awesome. So now the next trick. Look at that. That is so cool. If I move it all the way out here, it should be closest to the missile. If I move it all the way out here, sweet. That's so cool. Not too late, never too late. So I think I'm probably going to need some kind of utility function then to calculate this stuff. Or I need to calculate, oh, that's what I need. I need position relative to ownership. XY relative to ownership. That should just be sine cosine, isn't it? Because I don't know if we actually need the zoom level. I don't know if that matters. Because they're all going to be consistently furthest away whether we zoom in or not. That's just extra processing we all need. Okay, so it should jump to there. That's awesome. This is so cool. All right, this was a much needed piece of the puzzle to get our first demo up and running, which is going to be our ability to select one of these and then fire a smart missile to track them down and do damage to them. All while also trying to avoid anything they're shooting at us. Awesome. One step closer. All right, so I need to make this a little different. I don't think I need zoom. Track range. So this, yeah, this is creating track position, X and Y relative to ownership. So the only thing I think I did wrong was translating the position to world or yeah, world when it needs to be relative. So data track. So get position, what do we call this? Because I basically need to not do this. Yeah, get position relative. That's what I needed. Okay. So I don't think I need... I'm going to try this again. I don't understand why player orientation matters. It matters because you got to rotate. Is that what's happening? We're rotating the... Oh, that hurts my head. Does that matter? What is my... I Thought I was already calculating track position. System track motion. Ooh, are we not accounting for... Oh man, are we not accounting for the orientation of... Did I screw up somewhere? Positive sine, negative cosine. Positive sine, negative cosine. Convert to radians. Make sure we're doing that. We are. Get position relative. Okay. Crap. Track list has a node. We set the node's position. Oh, I think I know what's going on. This is annoying. Track dot get position relative. We're making use of Godot to handle rotation and heading, which is why all that works. But in this scenario, where I'm trying to calculate here, we don't have access to the Godot nodes that give us that relative transformation. Therefore, if everything is positioned... Should that matter? It matters because if everything is facing north, but then the game rotates the world around, but the cursor stays put. Oh, hey Trill, what are you doing? Huh? What are you doing? Oh, my cat's a twerp. All right. I just don't like that. We have I have my cursor here. Ownership is here. The world rotates around, but the cursor still sees the world as if it hasn't been rotated. So that's what's happening. The world rotates because we've set up Godot to do that rotation for us automatically, but the cursor doesn't see that rotation because it's not like I'm not grabbing that data. Crap. So I have to do this I have to do this calculation to account for that. I don't want to. So now this becomes t dot get position relative. Everything else stays the same. So let's try and run this again, make sure everything's still good. Ooh, I screwed something up. Oh my gosh. Cannot infer the type of track variable because the value doesn't have a set data type. Excuse you? I screwed something up, didn't I? Because that was working before. Jesus. The local variable azimuth radians is declared but never used. That's fair. I didn't think about that. So I'm basically telling Godot to rotate in the opposite direction, rotate the world in the opposite direction that the ownership is, because it was easy. But by doing that, any other math or logic we need to run, we're going to have to remember to do that because it's not getting handled automatically, which could introduce more bugs. It's a little annoying. If I do this right, then all of these guys that get added to the list first will get cycled through. Look at that. That's awesome. I don't care who you is. That's awesome. So cool. So freaking cool. Awesome. So eventually, when we have like a turn order on enemy combat, especially if we're doing turn-based, we should be able to use the same command to specify as we iterate over the turn order, like, hey, latch to this guy, latch to this guy. Awesome. Awesome. So cool. All right. I want to stage these changes. So I need to figure out what to do about all this logic. Because this isn't where it goes. Yeah. Does it still go on the track? Do I get like, what do I call this? Get position unrotated? Get position unwound? Unwrapped? Get position. So if I'm static in the world and I'm flying, my aircraft is turning left. So this is like, get position. Get position not rotated. Ugh, that's a terrible name. Get position. Oh, the next thing I wanted to check. I don't think I need zoom. We're dividing by zoom and then multiplying by zoom. That's so dumb. But I don't think I need zoom. Oh. No, I don't need zoom because I'm just using it to determine. I don't think I need zoom. I don't know where those missiles are coming from. I don't remember putting those there. See, that's a problem. It shouldn't be going there. Oh. because I'm not zoomed. Guess we need to account for zoom. Gosh darn it. That's annoying. All right, where was that? Is there something I'm not getting? Wouldn't this times zoom just be this? Nope, that still doesn't work. So, okay, so I screwed something up. Screwed something. What are you doing? All right, I'll be right back. My cat's bugging me. My cat had food and water. Don't get it. I don't get it. I screwed something up. I think I'm supposed to. Oh, why was I dividing by zoom? What is this? It's annoying. That was the issue. I divided by zoom when I shouldn't have. Okay, now I think it's working. All right. So I need to account for zoom and rotation because the cursor obviously doesn't zoom or rotate with the rest of the world. And so it has to be aware of that. So I almost need... I need like... What do I need... What do I need? I need to convert from relative position of ownership to world space, I guess. Unrotate, like world... Because like world space, north is up, right? So this is always up. These entities, when this rotates, their positions don't change. How they are being drawn changes, but their actual data doesn't change. That's world space. World space is north is up. Relative space is ownership is up. So wherever ownership is pointing up, that is north. So that's relative space, world space. The cursor is in world space. The tracks are in relative space. So I need to convert one or the other. I either need to convert cursor to ownership space, or I need to convert tracks to world space. That includes Briarthorn's zoom level. Because zooming in and out doesn't affect world data. It only affects radar rendered data. But tracks are in that radar rendered data, so I have to have that conversion. Who owns the conversion? I don't know. Tracks have the needed information. Tracks would have access to... Tracks don't have access to the zoom space. Briarthorn has access to the player and zoom. So maybe this is a Briarthorn helper. Because I have zoom position, so you pass in a position to get a zoom position. Because I can do all of this on Briarthorn. We would get the track's relative position, pass it in to here. Are you back already? So, what do I want to do here? So radar position isn't right either. So I need like Briarthorn position. What do I need? I need like function. World to Relative? Other way around. I need relative to world. Hey, stop. Oh, my cat is tearing up my rug. What are you doing, dude? Little twerp. Relative to world. So we get the ownership's position, ownership's heading. We pass in the relative position, which would be our radar track. This is adding player position. I don't think we want that. I don't like this naming convention, but I'm tired and I want to be done at this point. So we got Briarthorn relative to world. This also needs... Hey! I'm about to go grab my cat and show you guys what I'm dealing with here. All right. Relative to world. I'm gonna forget this one. This needs documented. Yeah, see, this is already wrong. From player relative coordinate to... Or no, the cursor is... I don't know what to call this coordinate system. It's world space. It's world space relative to ownership. Radar relative would make me think it's relative to the orientation of the radar, which is the ownership. So I don't like that. This is relative to ownership in world space. Transform a position relative to the player into world coordinates relative to the player. Transforms a position relative to the player into world coordinate relative to the player. And we also want to apply zoom. We multiply it to world relative, which is the position we pass in. Var position zoom. I don't even need to do this. I can just do equals zoom position. Okay. So that will give me relative to world. So here, I shouldn't need this. Now it's world relative, Briarthorn relative to world, get position relative, and then cursor position, which is world relative. Okay. Let's see if that works. Didn't like something. The local variable player position is declared but never used. Right. Let's see if this does it. Dang it, man. Maybe I use AI to come up with better naming convention, because I'm doing a terrible job. It's also broken. We're taking negative HRAD, and I don't think we were doing that. We were, yeah, this needs to be negative. Did it not launch? Okay. Okay. Cool. All right, that's working. All right. So before I commit, I'm going to ask AI for a better naming convention, because I can't think of one. There are multiple coordinate systems I am dealing with in my game. World coordinates, where north is along the negative y-axis. World coordinates relative to the player / center of portal TSD. It's probably going to be relative to player, because we are going to eventually move this. World coordinates relative to the player with no relative to the player with north along the negative y-axis. That's not true. World coordinates relative to the player with north always world coordinates relative to the player with north with no player rotation applied. Player coordinates where player relative player coordinates where player heading is applied. This will probably be how most, this will probably be what most game logic will use as this is where tracks live. World coordinates where north is along the negative y-axis. This is where truth data lives as this is where truth data lives, such as model entities. World coordinates relative to the player with no player rotation applied. This is where the cursor lives. And this is where the cursor lives. I implemented a function in Briarthorn.gd called relative to world, but I don't know if that accurately depicts what the function is doing. Can you review and suggest a better name if you have one? The function takes a position in player heading frame where tracks live and rotates it by minus heading to remove the player's heading, producing a position in world-aligned, player-centered frame. The name relative to world is ambiguous. Both the input and output are relative to the player, so the word world doesn't include... Yeah. A more descriptive name would be heading relative to world relative, or if you want something shorter that matches the conversational vocabulary in my code, track to cursor space, since tracks live in heading. Given the pattern of your other coordinate system terminology, I would lean towards heading relative to world relative. Okay. Heading relative to world relative, I guess. I don't know. It's a little verbose for my taste, but I'm tired. Heading relative to world relative. Oh, coordinate systems. They're so much fun. All right. One last check to make sure I didn't dork anything up. All right. That looks good. All right. I think we are about ready to call it. I was on here longer than I expected tonight, and I got nowhere near as done as I was hoping to get done. Okay. Implement cursor latching and cycling. We already had cursor latching. Implement cursor cycling. And I think this is crazy. I needed all this just so I could fire a weapon. Close to the right. I didn't have any other tickets to do this, did I? Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I didn't. I feel like this is worth merging, but I don't want to close the ticket because the ticket itself is not done. I'll go ahead and get a pull request going. That way it can run through the pipeline. Look at that. Plus 237 lines of code. Next track, previous track. So we've got cursor cycling for tracks, which gives us the ability to grab a target to shoot at. So the next step would be to create a weapon command, a fire command, which I think I started. Did I commit that? So we go to our commands. So I have a fire command. So this we would specify shooter target pairing. We would use the shooter target pairing to create a missile with a pursuit maneuver on the target. And then we would have probably a weapon system or missile system so that we could track missile timeout or weapon timeout and radius. So that system would then, like every tick, check the radius of the missile against the player. And if it's good, send out a command to detonate. Now, one thing we could potentially do is use Godot's collision system and use the data we've defined in our weapon, so our static data in our database here. Where did I define that? Right here. And we could use like this damage radius value to set the collision, because we would just use like a circle body. So we could do that, and then when a collision is detected, use that to invoke our Briarthorn command. I could use that as like a guinea pig to determine if I want to use Godot nodes instead of this mishmash entity component system that I'm currently doing. I'm not sure. I'm leaning like this because my cat's right here. He's just like flopping and rolling. We'll go lay down, Trill. It's all right. I'm tired. So yeah, I think that's maybe what I'll do. I'll leave this ticket open. Maybe I'll get to it tomorrow. This might be an opportunity to explore the Godot collision system instead of implementing a bunch of logic ourselves. Because if that works, then maybe this is the path towards Godotifying my entity component system, if you will. But yeah, I think we are good here. Made a lot of progress. I'm really excited about the cursor cycling. That is so freaking cool. All right. For any of you silent viewers who stopped by to take a peek, I appreciate it. And